Do you want perfect, clean brass, all the same size, perfect every time, like new brass? Well, then come check this out. Hey guys, welcome back to the Rockford Ordnance. It's been a while. I'm out in the shop, been doing a lot of reloading. It's winter. We can't get rid of winter up here. You know, we still got ice on the lakes. We got a foot of snow today, and not that just because it's snowing, I reload all winter long. But today I took a break from the Dillon that's been my hobby all winter. I just love this thing. It's phenomenal. And I went back to using my trusty old RCBS press here. This is a rock chucker. Yeah, I'm sure anybody that's ever looked into reloading has heard of that. Well, I got a couple rock chuckers here, and I never got rid of it because that's for some things, and this is for precision ammo, things I don't load a lot of, that type of thing. Not that I can't do precision ammo on that. Anyhow, I had a whole bunch of brass from back when we were at the 2A EDU get-together. The reason there was so much brass is we had a gun chucking brass like you wouldn't believe, and that was the World War II Browning automatic, and it was chucking 30-06 shells out like nobody's business. Anyhow, they hit the ground there, they laid in the rain, I threw them in a bucket, they sat in the back of the truck, I brought them home, they sat till now, and I thought, you know what, I want to shoot the Grand a little, so I'm going to clean some of this stuff up. And I'm not set up to load 30-06 on the Dillon, so we're going to do it on the Rock Crusher. But first and foremost, I had to get brass ready. So I'm going to show you, because this brass came out so nice, I'm going to show you our brass prep, how we do it. Let's face it, it's the hardest part of reloading. Everybody tells you, oh, reloading's easy, right? Just buy a kit, get a book, read the book, start reloading, get components, that type of thing. Yeah, it's easy if you do your research and read ahead of time. But the hardest thing is always prepping brass. If you're picking it up at the range or getting it from friends, it can be tough. There's a lot of steps. Loading it is easy. I dump the ready brass up here in a hopper and boom, it comes down and we load like crazy. But for this 30-06, I went back to prepping how I've done it for years and years. And the steps are kind of the same for getting brass ready for this, although I've got a head for this that sizes, deprimes, trims, everything all in one, so that saves a lot of time. But here we did it step by step the old-fashioned way, so I'm going to show you how we get our brass looking brand new like that. What do you think of that, boys and girls? Look at, well, that's a, here's one that's done. Here we go. Looking like that. Look at that primer pocket. Oh, you'd swear this is new brass, right? Well, I'm going to show you how to take literally tarnished, corroded, black, filthy brass and turn it into that and measure out absolutely perfect in every dimension, especially trimming. A lot of guys have problems with trimmers. We're going to show you the trimmer that we started with and we still use, and it's the most accurate. Every single one of these is spot on, and it's rudimentary stuff. So come on, we'll check it out, and hopefully you guys pick something up, learn a little something. All right, so first things first, you need your brass, right? And where do you get that? Well, you can buy it. New brass is expensive. You can save it. You're once fired. or you can pick it up at the range, or all of the above. Now, I'm sure I'll have, I don't know, some FUD come in here and make some comments about, oh, don't do it this way, or don't do that, or this is wrong because the molecular structure of whatever, you get it. But trust me, guys, I've been doing what I'm going to show you here, I have been doing for years and years and years. And most of it is by the book, just with a couple little tweaks to it. Anyhow, I like picking up brass at the range. Some people say, oh, don't do it. What if it was a reloader and he's on his last firing? You get to know by looking at brass and sorting it and all that stuff, what's good brass, what's not. You can look for ejector marks, you can, all kinds of things, but you'll get the hang of it. Anyways, reloaders are probably 1 in 100 of people that go to the range. I don't know, maybe a little more, but either way, I've never had an issue. But I pick up brass at the range, whether it's dry, wet, snow, whatever, I pick it up. I get some loads that I've picked up that, as careful as I am, there's mud and sand and all kinds of stuff on it, leaves mixed in. Other times it's pretty clean, like this stuff. You can see that's just some 9mm. It was dry at the range the other day and wasn't too bad. The insides are dirty, the outsides aren't too bad. If they're not too bad, fine, no problem. If they're sandy, dirty, muddy, whatever, I actually use this tray here, and this is the tray out of our Sonic Cleaner, and I'll pour it in here and I will just rinse it in our shop sink and shake it around, rinse it real good. I dump it from here into an old plastic pitcher and work it back and forth and just give it a good cleaning, because we don't want to have to run all that debris through our dies and scratch them up. That's the first step. So I get it fairly clean and it looks something, let's see if I can show you this. I've got a towel full of it here because it was drying, but it looks something like this 9 here. That's just rinsed, so I'll show you a few of them. And they look something like that. Pretty clean, but still, you know, the insides are dirty, whatnot. Primers are still in them, all that good stuff. So we got the gunk off, or your shells were pretty good to begin with. From there, what I like to do is deprime them. Now, yes, while sizing, my Dylan can do it, your dies for any other press can deprime, but if you deprime and size at the same time and your brass is not clean yet, you run the risk of scratching your dies. Plus, I like to get the insides of the primer pockets super clean. So what I do is I run it through a decapping die. And that's a die that all it does is decap. So the sides are not coming in contact with the sides of the die. And I run them all through real quick. I decap them, and then they go into the Ultrasonic Cleaner. Now there's tons of versions out there. This happens to be an RCBS. If you look at my bench prior to my Dylan, everything on my bench is green, everything. I'm a guy that likes to stick to a brand, and I've got more green in here than they have in Green Bay at the stadium there. Anyhow, we run it through here. For years, I did not use an ultrasonic. I simply tumbled my brass. Took a long time. You know, you got media to deal with and all of that. We still use our tumbler. We'll get to that, but we run it through here. So you put your brass in the basket. The key to this working well and quickly is not to overload it. Put a layer in the bottom and put it in. I have run full loads. You can do that if it's not too dirty, but it works much cleaner, much faster if you do smaller loads in there. So as I stated, you can use any ultrasonic cleaner. Mine just happens to be an RCBS. Harbor Freight has one, Hornady has one, a whole bunch of companies offer them. You can get them anywhere from, you know, 60, 80 bucks up to a couple hundred. And there's a difference in quality. This one happens to work just fine. Usually that difference being it's just going to take a little longer. There's lots of homemade potions that you can put in here. I use a lot of times this Lyman Turbo concentrated case cleaning solution. It's made just for brass. You put 2 ounces in something like 40 ounces of water and you pour it in. It works great. There's a drain on the side of this one. I can attach a hose. If I drain it slowly, I can get all the gunk to sit on the bottom, get the cleaner out, wipe out the gunk, and pour the fresh stuff back in, reusing it. It gets expensive. This stuff has went up to like, I think between 20 and 25 bucks a bottle, so it's not cheap. I do have a home recipe that I use that is absolutely incredible, dirt cheap, and I'll bet you have everything to make it in your shop and or kitchen right now. We'll do a video on that separately, but amazing stuff for pennies, and it cleans fast and all of that good stuff. Anyhow, you're going to put some in there. This will also heat up, and you can set different temperatures and all that, but in general, anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes, and your cases come out looking pretty much like that. Sometimes I'll run them a little shorter, not worry about some of the real fine stuff, because at the end of the day, we're going to tumble them before we're finished to put a nice polish on them. Again, some guys would be more than fine with this stuff, or sometimes, you know, if it's not dirty, you're at an indoor range, they'll reload it right from there without even washing it. I just happen to like perfect, like new brass. So we run it through the ultrasonic. It's not a video on that. I'm just doing a rough overview. This video started out as being about trimming, but I figured, well, I'll start at the beginning and do it all. So you run it through there. When it comes out, we rinse it real good, put it in a towel like that one you saw, kind of dry it. You can do all kinds of things. You can lay it out in the sun to dry it. You can bake it in the oven at low temperatures on a cookie sheet. You can let it just dry overnight if you like. But if you're in a hurry or you don't want to deal with those, this is the time I will usually do a couple of things just to speed it up. So here's our Ultrasonic Cleaner by RCBS. Typical of all the ultrasonic cleaners out there, and it, you know, has a timer, how many minutes you want it to run. You can set the temperature all the way up to about, let's see, 140 degrees. You turn the heater on. Here it's running, it'll preheat. You can set a timer for how long you've been using the fluid in there, so you know when to change it. It's got a drain here you can hook a hose to. You take the cover off and there's your fluid. Now that's dirty fluid from running, I don't know, a couple thousand rounds through there, but it lasts quite a while. It just takes longer and longer as the fluid gets older and older. So pretty basic. You put it in there, it makes a noise something like this. And that's all there is to it. Timer counts down. When it's done, you pull it out and rinse it. And there is our tumbler. We've been using this Lyman Turbo Pro 1200 forever and ever. I also use Lyman Corn Cob, the green, because it polishes real nice. One benefit to using the Sonic Cleaner before tumbling is your media stays clean for a long time. But yeah, you just load it in there, put the cover on, screw it down, turn it on. If it's running right or loaded properly, your cartridges will be swirling up through the media, you'll see them come up and get sucked down. If it's overloaded, it won't be doing that. So you saw the tumbler, and I talked about the media. This is the Lyman's Corn Cob Plus, and it's just ground corn cob with a polishing agent impregnated into it. One of these lasted me years and years and years and years. It doesn't go bad. You can even recharge it with some polishing formula they make that you can add into the tumbler to rejuvenate it. But I buy it in bulk. Usually it comes in one big jug. Supply chain issues, we got two. This will last me the next 5 years, probably, doing tens of thousands of rounds. So, like I said, we're going to save some time rather than wait for it to dry or put it out in the sun. We're going to take it from drying it off after rinsing, put it right in our tumbler, and let it tumble. Now, we're not looking to get a final polish here or anything. We're just running it through there to dry it off. The corn cob media is very absorbent. It will absorb that water right away, 10, 15, 20 minutes in there, and you're good. You can pull it out. And this is how it comes out of the tumbler. Yeah, 15 minutes after the ultrasonic, all dried off, a little bit of, or even a high polish on these 30-06s, and they're looking good. And you say, well, we're done, right? Brass prep. Nope. So by prepped brass, I mean cleaned through priming. So cleaned, sized, trimmed, chamfered and all, and ready for a primer. So we then take our dried brass and we're going to size it. And this just happens to be a very old, well, not that old, RCBS 30-06 die, and it also happens to be set up already. I have a lock ring set up, so we just screw it in. And lock it down. You got a shell holder. You put one of your shells in there and you run it up and size it. And the other thing it'll do, because we have a decapping pin in here, is it will knock the corn cob that sometimes gets stuck in the flash hole out of there. You always have to check that, because when you're using corn cob, it will get stuck in there. That's one of the drawbacks to corn cob, but that pushes it right out and you're good to go. So now we have a cleaned, deprimed, sized case. And from there, we are ready to do some measurements and trim the case to the proper length. You know, guys, over the years, I have found that a lot of what makes your reloading day easier is some of the gadgets that are available. So as I do these videos and I use some gadget I found over the years, I'll go through it real quick with you. Before we had our Dillon press mounted there, our rock chucker was over there. We've got another one at the other end of the bench here. But when I got the Dillon, I needed a place for the rock chucker, but didn't want to keep it right in the middle of the bench the whole time. So RCBS makes this plate here, I don't know if you can see it, that mounts to the bench. You screw it into the bench, and then it's got pre-drilled holes all over it for all RCBS's different accessories to bolt to. So when we're done with this, we're going to remove it and we're going to mount our trimmer. That plate is really, really handy. So voila, through the magic of the camera, we have switched out our rock chucker press and mounted our RCBS Trim Pro to it. Again, maybe you can see better, this plate has all different patterns of holes drilled all over it. Some as big as 3/8 to mount the press, others smaller, and the pattern to mount this trimmer. and you can mount all kinds of accessories to this, including their power drop, etc. Powder drop. Yeah, this is what I started to make this video about, was the trimming. So we're going to get into that. Alright, so the reason I made this video was to talk about trimming. I was doing this load of 30-06 and they just came out so perfect. It reminded me of why I love this trimmer, and two, I've been seeing a ton of videos for years now about people talking about all these different trimmers from all these different manufacturers. Some of them mounted on drills, some of them bench mounted, some you hold this in your hand, and they just seem so inaccurate, and everybody complained about them not being repeatable and or accurate. So to me, repeatable is the big thing, right? If you can get it, you want every shell to be the same, regardless of the setting. But this does both. It allows you to set it accurately, and it's extremely repeatable. These shells here, when you're reloading, there's a chart that RCBS puts out. I have it laminated here. I'll show you. So one of the best things you can ever do is take one of these charts, and they're probably available other places, but I got this from RCBS, and it's a chart that lists all the trim to lengths for all the different calibers, and it gives you the trim to length, what you should trim a case to, and the max length that the case can grow before you trim it. The key to it, guys, especially, well, not especially, but the key to it is consistency. You want all your cases the same. That way you get the same crimp, the same everything. So that's the key. All right, got my glasses, and we've got our chart. And in this case, we're doing 30-06 Springfield. The trim to length is 2.484, and the maximum case length is 2.494. So that difference, the 10, will be the same for just about every cartridge out there. So I check my my brass every time I shoot, and I'll trim every time I shoot if I need to. I like perfect cases every time. So we set this at 2.484, and there's a couple ways to set it. You can do it by trial and error. This is the adjustment right here. You've got a macro adjustment and a micro adjustment, and there's a set screw here and a set screw here. The easy way to do this, once you've done it the first time, is take a case that is exactly the length you want and save it. For instance, in this case, I've got my 30-06 dies, and in here I have several shell casings. This one is marked in a permanent marker, 2.484. And I've got a couple other lengths that I'm not going to get into right now. This is kind of for basics for the new guy. But once you have a case and you save it, the next time you go to reload, you can put that case in there, loosen up your lock slide, push that all the way forward, slide the lock bar in, and tighten it up. And it's set. That simple. No fooling around. You know, oh, need a little more, oops, a little less. No, once you do it once and you save a case, you can set it that quick every time. So make sure you save a case after the first time. Anyways, what's so great about this? Well, first of all, this is a universal holder here. You don't have to change anything out. It's spring loaded. I can put everything from 223 in there up to 45 ACP and probably more. But you snap it in there. There's different, what do you call these things? Arbors, I guess. that come with it, like 10 of them. You may need some more, but you've got a full selection, 45, 38, 30 cal, that one's 22, 32, on down. You get the idea. So you put that in there. Two things I would recommend. Get the carbide cutting head. It'll last forever. Once it gets hard to cut, replace the cutter. This one happens to be the regular one because they were out of carbides, but the carbide lasts forever. When it's tough cutting and you seem like you're cranking forever, just replace it. They're cheap. This does come in a powered model. RCBS sells it with a power drive on it. They also make an adapter that will screw in the shaft here instead of the handle and attach to your drill. Sometimes when I got a lot to do, I'll do that, but it's pretty easy. You crank it. As it's cranking in, it hits the stop, won't go any further, it's done. Take the case out. As far as repeatability, I just measured these, and every one of these, probably about, I don't know, 50, about 100 cases, every single one is exactly 2.484. No, oh, I need a feel for it, or, oh, I got to push a little harder, make sure I push the same amount. Nope, it just trims to that. Perfect every time. I can't say enough about it. I've used this thing. It was the first trimmer I bought. If you guys are starting out and you buy a kit, I'm not going to tell you how to start out. Some people will say, oh, go jump right to progressive. Others will say, no, start with a single stage press. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to tell you how I did it. And I'm really glad I did it that way. And real quick, I started out by buying an RCBS rock chucker kit. Came with just about everything, except does not come with a trimmer. That's kind of essential, so I had to buy that separate. It was RCBS, I bought it. I got lucky. This is a great, great piece of equipment. It's ultimately repeatable. It works every time perfectly, and I mean, they're so close, you have no idea. They're all right on the money. I don't know, maybe it does take a little feel if I think way back, but not really. I mean, it hits the spot and keeps, it stops. I guess if you really cranked on that thing, you could get it to go, you know, 1/10,000ths over or something. Or if you didn't go all the way, just make sure you hit it. Little tip, keep the shaft lubricated and keep the face of the stop lubricated. You won't even realize it, and you're working against a lot of friction. The other thing is, once it hits the stop, it gets really easy, and you can tell when you're done. So that's just a little tip. You can tell when you don't need to go anymore. Other than that, yeah, it's just a great unit. It trims so precisely, I can't tell you. The only thing now that's better is I've got a power trimmer and a case prep head set up for my Dylan that works fabulous as well. But if you're doing it, you know, on a single stage press, just starting out, whatever, even more advanced, this is a great, great trimmer. I can't say enough about it. Once cases are trimmed, I'll show you how we finish things up. Okay guys, I'm sorry for the jumble of equipment here, but I think I broke the record for getting the most amount of reloading equipment into the smallest space. That's funny because I have plenty of room and other benches, but at the time when I started reloading, we were still building race motorcycles and all, and I wanted to kind of keep it relegated to one spot, never realizing it would get this crazy and out of hand and how much I would get into it. So everything's kind of jammed in here. But believe it or not, I love it this way. I wouldn't change a thing. I'm comfortable. Everything's within reach, and it's great. It's just hard to show you on the channel, I guess. So anyhow, after we get done trimming with the RCBS Trim Pro 2, that's what it's called. Great piece, like I said. When we're done with that, all that's left is to chamfer, deburr, and clean that primer pocket out perfectly. So we move over to our RCBS Trim Mate Case Prep Center. You can do it the old-fashioned way with this, chamfer, deburr, works great. These work absolutely fine, but the primer pocket is always my concern, so I went to this setup. And the nice thing is, it does all of them at one time, and it's powered. So this thing, guys, is processed, I don't know if I'm over 100,000 maybe, but the gears are at this point a little worn, but it still works just fine, and it's just a little noisy is all. But it spins all of them. You can replace all these tools, put them in any order you want. And right now I was only using one tool, so I have small and large primer pocket stuff mixed together, but usually it would all be small or large primers set up. And what I have is a brush, which I really don't use that all that much anymore. I used it when I first started out, but only if I really can't get something out of there. This is a trim device that gets rid of the military crimp. RCBS makes it for small primers and large, and you just take your case and say if there's a crimp on it, you just set it on there, push down, and it chamfers the edge of the primer pocket real nice, removes that crimp, works great. From there, I go to this. This is a primer pocket uniformer. So it does two things. It makes sure that each primer pocket is the same depth and width, I guess, which they already should be, but and it also cleans at the same time. So again, you just put it down over this and turn it on, and they come out looking like this. Really, really nice. From there, we deburr and chamfer. This deburring tool, I don't know if I still have the other one here or not. It's not here right now, but I used to have a different deburring tool, their standard one, and it sort of just looks like this, just mounts on here. This larger unit here has carbide blades, 3 of them, and a center post to line it up. And you put it in there, very little pressure, and it deburrs perfectly. And then we have our ELD chamfering tool here, and you would just chamfer on that, and you're all set. So whatever you want to do, brush, take out the crimp, move to here, uniform and clean the pocket, flip it over, deburr, chamfer, and then you can even run that through the neck. There's even a little pocket here that holds a little case neck lube if you needed to dip a shell in there to get it to run smoothly through resizing die or what have you. A little tray here to hold all your little extras. Here's my larges, smalls, brushes, etc. But a great unit again. It makes everything super fast when I'm doing it one piece at a time again. So yeah, after we trim it, we do that, and the case is done. It is sized to the right size, clean, perfect, ready to go. All right, one thing I forgot to mention is on the military crimp remover. Really, you're gonna only be using that on military cartridges, 5.56 and 308 762 by 51 are really what you're going to find military crimps on from time to time. But the RCBS works really well. Let me see if I can give you a close-up of the large. Yeah, here's the large one. So here is what the face of that looks like. And you just set the shell on top of it, push down while it's spinning, and it gets rid of that crimp and leaves a nice chamfer on the mouth of the primer pocket. So great tool, easy to use. I know some new guys freak out about that. What the hell, what's going on? I can't get my primers back in. But it works really well. And again, all these little tools are just on little threaded rods, and actually these can come out and they screw anywhere you want them. And it's personal preference. And it works great. Can't say enough about it. Like I said, guys, my stuff is crammed in. We have relegated cleaning over to another section here, but when you start reloading, just know it's probably going to turn into a huge undertaking. This is all sorted brass, and brass that's waiting to be loaded or cleaned. Save all your coffee cans, they're great. And always make sure you're labeling things, because you will forget. I label them ready to load, whether they're clean sized, etc. It's a good way to store them, and when you come back to a project, you remember where you were at. But you end up with so much stuff, it's unbelievable. You know, we started with one old rock chucker that's under the cover there, and you end up with so much stuff. It's insane, but that's how it goes, and it ends here with the world's greatest reloader, the Dillon. And yeah, if you had told me it would end up this way, I would have told you you were nuts. But hey, what are you gonna do? It's a ton of fun. Well, guys, that's it. So let's go over it one more time. So you collect your brass, you pick it up at the range, whatever. If it's really grungy, you rinse it real good. From there, you're going to deprime it and then run it through your ultrasonic. Take it out, run it in the tumbler in the corn cob to dry it. Take it out, size it, and keep your depriming pin in there to get rid of any corn cob in the flash hole. Then you're going to trim, and then you're going to chamfer, deburr, and possibly chamfer, deburr, clean out the primer pocket, possibly remove a military crimp. And yeah, I usually then, one more thing, I usually run it back through the tumbler after all of that, because you'll have some lube on the cases from sizing. So I usually run them back through one more time, and they come out like this. Absolutely perfect, pristine, like new, and ready to go no matter how you're gonna load them. They look marvelous. Keep in mind, guys, this isn't for everybody. If you're a little OCD like me, maybe you do this. Like I said, a lot of guys just, you know, do the basics and it's good enough. They reload them, shoot them again, you know, and that's up to you. But if you want perfect length, perfect everything, try that RCBS sizer. No matter what your process, but I found this process works really well. I'll be bringing you a video on my home recipe for brass cleaning solution. I think you guys will like it. Super cheap, works fabulous. So enjoy that. That'll be coming soon. Thanks for everything you do. Make sure you check out our Instagram and our Facebook. Please like the video down there and subscribe if you haven't subscribed before. If you are subscribed, check. Make sure you're still subscribed. We appreciate you coming over and checking everything out. And as always, Rockford Ordnance out.